Do you know it can take over a decade and billions of dollars to bring a single medicine to market? The process of making medicines is way more fascinating than you think, and I can't wait to show you how it's really done. Behind every medicine, there's a fascinating and complex journey involving years of research, testing, and innovation. In this video, we'll dive into how medicines are made, exploring everything from the earliest stages of discovery to the moment that a drug hits the pharmacy shelves. The journey of medicines from lab to pharmacy takes several years. Sometimes it takes decades to develop and formulate. There are several stages through which a medicine goes. The first step in making a medicine is identifying the need. Researchers start by asking a basic question. What health problem are we trying to solve? For example, when scientists wanted to tackle malaria, they had to understand how the malaria parasite works. To create a new cancer drug, they study how cancer cells behave and grow. The discovery phase often begins in a lab where scientists research diseases, examining them at a molecular level. Imagine scientists with microscopes, petri dishes, and cutting-edge technology, all focused on finding a target in the body. This target could be a protein, enzyme, or genetic marker that's causing disease. One famous example is the discovery of penicillin by Alexander Fleming in 1928. Fleming noticed that a mold accidentally killed bacteria in one of his petri dishes. This observation led to the development of penicillin, the world's first antibiotic. Once scientists identify a target, the next step is finding a substance that can interact with it. This could be a chemical compound, a biological molecule, or even a synthetic material. Using computer simulations, artificial intelligence, and vast libraries of chemical compounds, researchers search for potential candidates. These drug candidates are then tested in the lab, first on cells and tissues, and eventually on animals. Preclinical testing helps scientists figure out how the drug behaves in living organisms. They need to understand how does the body absorb, distribute, and excrete the drug. What effect does the drug have on the body? Is the drug safe, or does it cause harmful side effects? This stage is essential because it helps weed out drug candidates that might be effective but dangerous. For example, during the development of thalidomide in the 1950s, researchers failed to properly test its effects on pregnant women, leading to birth defects. Now, strict testing regulations ensure that potential drugs undergo rigorous preclinical trials. Once a drug proves promising in preclinical testing, it's time for clinical trials, the step where human volunteers come into play. These trials take place in phases. Phase 1. This involves a small group of healthy volunteers. The goal is to determine if the drug is safe for humans. Scientists start with low doses and monitor participants closely. The emphasis here is on safety, not effectiveness. Phase 2. If the drug is deemed safe, it's tested on a larger group of patients who actually have the condition the drug is meant to treat. Here, the focus shifts to both safety and effectiveness. Phase 3. In this phase, the drug is tested on an even larger group, sometimes thousands of people, to confirm its effectiveness, monitor side effects, and compare it to other treatments. It's during this phase that doctors and researchers collect enough data to apply for approval. One well-known example of clinical trials was during the development of COVID-19 vaccines. Pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Moderna conducted large-scale clinical trials involving tens of thousands of volunteers worldwide, gathering data on the safety and efficacy of their vaccines in record time. Once clinical trials are completed, the next step is seeking approval from regulatory bodies. In the United States, that's the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. In Europe, it's the European Medicines Agency, EMA. These agencies review all the data from the preclinical and clinical phases to determine if the drug is safe and effective for widespread use. Getting approval is no small feat. Pharmaceutical companies submit extensive documentation, sometimes running to hundreds of thousands of pages, detailing everything about the drug. Regulatory agencies might take months or even years to carefully review this data. They also inspect the facilities where the drug will be manufactured to ensure quality control. For example, statins, a class of drugs used to lower cholesterol, had to pass through this rigorous process before becoming a mainstay in the treatment of cardiovascular diseases. Approval doesn't just depend on effectiveness. The drug must also demonstrate that its benefits outweigh the risks. Once approved, the drug moves to the manufacturing phase. This step involves mass production under strict conditions to ensure that every pill, vial, or injection is consistent in quality and potency. Factories are carefully monitored to meet high safety standards. For instance, producing insulin for diabetic patients requires sophisticated techniques to ensure it's biologically identical to what the body naturally produces. Advances in biotechnology have allowed companies to create synthetic insulin using genetically modified bacteria or yeast in bioreactors. Manufacturing also involves packaging and distributing the drug worldwide. With vaccines, for example, special care must be taken in how they're stored and transported. Many vaccines, like the COVID-19 vaccine, need to be kept at extremely low temperatures to remain effective, which adds an extra layer of complexity to their distribution. Even after a drug hits the market, the journey doesn't end. This is where post-market surveillance comes in. Regulatory agencies and pharmaceutical companies continue to monitor the drug for any long-term side effects, especially since rare side effects may only appear after a drug is used by millions of people. For instance, after certain arthritis medications were introduced, they were later found to increase the risk of heart attack and stroke in some patients. As a result, the drugs were either pulled from the market or given new warning labels to ensure safe use. A great example of a drug's journey from lab to pharmacy is aspirin. Derived from the bark of the willow tree, its active ingredient, salicylic acid, was initially too harsh on the stomach. In 1897, a chemist at Bayer modified the compound to make it less irritating. After passing safety tests in clinical trials, aspirin became one of the world's most popular drugs, used to treat pain, inflammation, and even prevent heart attacks. Creating a medicine is a long, intricate process that can take over a decade and billions of dollars. From the initial discovery in a lab to the moment it arrives at your local pharmacy, each step is crucial in ensuring the medicine is both safe and effective. Whether it's an over-the-counter remedy like aspirin or a life-saving vaccine, every drug we use represents the dedication of thousands of researchers, doctors, and regulators working together to improve global health. So the next time you take a pill or get a vaccine, remember the complex journey it went through to get to you. Each dose represents a scientific triumph, built on decades of research, testing, and innovation.